All right, so where do we stand, Tim? We were talking about that plan that was released. I don't know who actually released it. I don't know if the NBA took it seriously, but I guess MGM Hotels were going to shut down a whole city block in Vegas, invite all the teams, coaches, staffers, TV, families. They could all just live in Vegas hotels and quarantine themselves in these hotels and then play games at Mandalay or a couple other different places. I don't know how seriously the NBA took that. But what are we hearing now? What's the latest?
Well, the New York Times wrote that story, I think on Saturday, and Brian Windhurst and I on Friday wrote kind of a big takeout on what an NBA bubble situation would look like. Mm-hmm. And look, I think the NBA is currently in a holding pattern. And the thing I think that is going to dictate whether the NBA comes back more than anything else is the nationwide testing numbers. Right now, every day, if people want sports to come back, what I suggest they do is look at what the number of tests given around the country are every day. That's the first thing I check as soon as it comes out. We've been somewhere between 250 and 300,000 tests a day for the past week or so. That number needs to get to, in my opinion, the low seven figures for the NBA to come back and for other sports to come back. That seems to be what the experts are saying in terms of having, somewhat normal societal function happening. Mm-hmm. And the NBA is not going to put itself out there in a position where its teams are getting killed for taking tests away from regular people.
Yeah, and they shouldn't. It's totally the right move. But I actually think it's plausible. I mean, people have been hammering the testing issue, and it's going to be very, very critical. But it seems like they're ramping up, and they're getting more and more and more by the hundreds of thousands every week. I'm going to guess within 3 or 4 weeks we'd be in that range of low seven-figure testing.
Maybe. I mean, it took basically the month of April to get to this point. So,
seems to be ramping up pretty good. Seems like it's exponentially going up.
They are. And listen, I think that's certainly what's given me a little bit of optimism is that we've gotten this far, right? And look, but I think the rest of the bubble stuff, like we wrote this whole big thing on the number of people that need to be inside it and how it would work and all this stuff. I think the NBA can make the logistics work and find a way to get this thing going. But that to me is the key, and it's the key for baseball and everything else. I'm looking at that testing number because these leagues don't want to put themselves in a position where they're going to get killed.
Yeah, it'd be a terrible look, no doubt.
Yeah.
But what they have to do is once it gets to the point where everybody can get a test, even if you have to pay a little extra, whatever, you have access to it. They can hire a private company that does their own test. And frankly, I don't even.
Yeah, the leagues are not going to have any problem getting their own tests.
Right.
But they could get their own test now. That's not the issue.
Right. But it's the look, and it has to be when the rest of the public can get theirs too. I get it completely.
Absolutely.
But what I think they need to do too is I would just scrap the whole bubble idea. Just be smart and just do daily 5-minute tests. And then, you know what I mean? If their tests are that available at that point, the bubble idea seems almost implausible. And then if somebody tests positive, they're out. They're on injured reserve or whatever, a reserve list, and then test everybody else.
Yeah.
And that's just how you have to do it, I think.
I think that's a probably a path forward for next season.
Yeah.
Right? It doesn't seem to me like testing is going to advance fast enough that.
Well, what is the latest they could start, Tim?
Well, I mean, in theory, like if you're
it depends. It depends on when they want to start the next season.
Right. And my guess is that the next season, Adrian Wojnarowski reported on Friday that at the latest Board of Governors meeting, they talked about starting the season in December.
Right.
I think that's going to be that seems to be the way this is trending, that no matter what happens, the NBA isn't going to start until December.
Okay.
With the thinking being that the later you start, the more likely you get to have more games with fans in the stands, right?
Right.
Because think about it. Every game they play without fans, they're taking a couple $1 million out of the owners' pockets, and they basically split the money with the players 50-50. And the players' salaries aren't changing, right?
Right.
So if the players are making X and you're making like $2 billion eventually less than you're supposed to, then you got to start taking money out of players' paychecks, and then like everything goes haywire. So to go back to your question before, they could start in August, they could start in September, and still like you could play the playoffs in 2 months, and then still have a few weeks off before you start again. So I don't think it's a decision they have to make in say 2 weeks, right? Like, do we come back or not by, do we have to start getting guys back by June 1st or we're done? I don't think it's a situation like that. But I do think they would like to be done before, the at least scheduled start of the football season, and say, hey, we're done by Labor Day, and then we can get out of football's way, and we have our playoffs done by then, and then we can move on.
Well, if they did decide to delay next year, Tim, so let's just say it's around Christmas, that would be an abbreviated schedule for that particular year, right? They wouldn't play 82.
No, I don't think so. I think I think they would play 82 games, and I think you could see that become the new NBA schedule.
Okay.
And that's something I was at the Sloan Conference in March and wrote about. The CEO of the Hawks, Steve Koonin, proposed that very idea, starting the schedule in December. And it's something that people around the league have pushed for a while, right? Like people, like I'm sure, you guys are big football guys. I think most people who are really into football don't start to tune into the NBA until Christmas really anyway, right? Well, what if you just start the NBA season basically around Christmas and you then go into June, July, and August when there's really just the kind of the dregs of the baseball season going on, right, and the golf majors. Like there's not a lot of stuff going on, and you could have, basketball wall-to-wall July and August with the playoffs and just completely soak up all the attention that is kind of waiting there for somebody to take it, right? So that's been the view of a lot of people within the league, not a lot of people, but a good chunk of people within the league for a while, and the way this is played out, they might kind of back into it because they're moving the season back because they want to get as many games in as they can with fans. So I don't think they would cut the schedule down. And I think if you get into a situation where you were playing from mid-December to mid to late August, including the playoffs, I think you'd have a hard time going back to what it was before. You'd basically have 2 seasons in a row. I don't think they want to do that. So if it does end up happening that way, it wouldn't surprise me if it just sticks.
Tim, thanks so much for the time. Stay safe, and we'll talk to you again soon, man. We appreciate the time.
Fun to talk to you guys. Never like you said. I hope you guys stay safe too. But looking forward to catching up.
Yeah,
thank you, buddy. Appreciate it, Tim.